Hey guys, Scott said in AP3. Sorry about the visor. I got some of it's going away a little bit. I just want to make a video here because I get a little frustrated sometimes. I see some leaders, I see leaders of other groups, posting about we're not training yet, we're not ready, social distancing. To me that's a joke. Honestly, I don't want to hear that anymore, especially from any leaders in AP. This is a time right now when we need to push harder, not push less. We learn from situations like this. We don't run from situations like this. And everything for us should be a learning scenario, so to speak. You know, when this first started going down, I took off from New York City and I went to Pennsylvania where I stayed for 5 weeks. And we did about a 85% quarantine when we were there. We wore our masks, we wore our gloves, we sanitized because we didn't know what was truly going on at that point in time. But we took the precautions, and I took my kid out of the city with me because I wanted her to be safe. And we learned a lot. It was a good little lesson for us as a team on how to learn from one another, learn about our weaknesses as individuals psychologically, learn about the holes in our plan, prepping, food preparation, a lack of certain things, uh, and you make notes of that stuff, and you can build upon that as long as you take it serious enough, and we did. We had some holes. We weren't perfect. And every team out there, there's very few teams out there that do not have holes. Whether it be in individuals that you've chosen to uh, get involved in the team, especially in that type of a situation. That's one of those teams that you really want to make sure that everybody who is involved is mentally there, stable, and mentally tough, and they are willing to be a part of the puzzle. No, egomaniacs, shit stirs, troublemakers, castle chargers. You don't want that in your group, especially being a family friendly organization. You don't want that in the group. First and foremost, we need to be able to use this and maintain a level head. The sanity of the whole entire group relies on the weakest link. That weakest link snaps, it will affect the rest of the group. So you got to keep that stuff in mind. But the reason I'm making this video today is because I don't want to hear anybody else saying that we can't get together, we can't train, we can't have meet and greets. Fuck that. This is done. It's over. Coronavirus has affected so few people across this country, And explain to me this. If the government was so concerned about the American people, why is it they're releasing prisoners who are already quarantined for the most part? That's a perfect quarantine situation. They're there, quarantined, but you're releasing them into public. But then what you're doing is you are going and you're finding people, men and women, that need to feed their families because they decide to get off their asses and actually work. Wearing masks, mind you. To cut hair, for example. And they're fined and they're arrested because they choose to feed their families over listening to unjust whims of politicians. They're not even laws what they're doing. When they're going in and arresting people for going to work, that's not a law. That's actually illegal. It's a constitutional right. The Bill of Rights. To go to work, make money, and support your family. Nothing illegal about that. The whims of these politicians. That right now is what's ruling this country. And even here in Florida, great state. I'm very happy to be here. Left New York since I was in Pennsylvania. My job in New York was 3 days a week. I wasn't going to be making enough money to pay my bills. So I elected to get out of the communist city. You know, I couldn't stay there. I'm not going to be, you're not going to shelter me in place. And I'm not looking to go to war. Anybody who's looking to go to war in this movement is a fucking clown. At some point, will we have to stand up harder than we are now? Maybe. What I mean by that is you see some of these militia groups in Michigan, for example, and people of this country standing up and going and supporting business owners that have to feed their families. If they can't feed their families, who's going to? I know I haven't received my stimulus check. I haven't received unemployment, which I paid taxes into my whole life. Still haven't received any of it. I'm living on. I survived with just over $1,000 for 2 months, and thank God I got an interview today. And got another one this week. So, but the thing about this whole mess is this is a learning experience for us. This is socialism. Now, I haven't received any money. Socialism, they'll pay you each month to keep you happy. They give you a little bit of government cheese just to keep you happy enough. That's what they're doing now. Here. For the people in America that are forced to stay at home. Now, why do they do this? Maybe they don't want us to have food. Maybe they want us to be weak enough where they could stomp that boot on our necks. Is it possible? Look at these people being arrested for going to work. Sure. It is possible. Look at what's happened to the Bundys. Lavoy Finicum. Ruby Ridge. Look what's happened. And our government is tyrannical. Unfortunately. This is a reality we face. So if we're not training and prepping for our teams, we're doing a disservice to our group. So you got to continue to train and prep. Remember, as a defensive unit, but also at the same time knowing that, our brother next door, next county over, next zone over, we know we can rely upon them and they can rely upon us should anything start to happen in this country, which is a very real, scary possibility, especially now with the election coming up. These Democrats are communist. Their goal right now is to tear down everything about this country. We got into this for a reason, and we're going to have to be the ones that are going to step up, get in line at some point if it doesn't stop. That's the unfortunate reality we're facing today. So I don't want to hear any more people saying we're not training, we're not meeting. None of that hogwash. That frustrates me. That's not what we're supposed to do as patriots or as militia. We're supposed to face the fire when it comes. And You know, Patriot on, continue doing what we've always been doing. That's all we can do for now. And try to build our bonds a little stronger. Local constitutional sheriffs, like happened in Virginia. It's happened in Alabama, New Mexico, Washington State. People don't understand. Everybody's like, Virginia, a perfect example. Virginia's lost. The governor's still passing all these laws. You know, man, you guys really need to start using your head a little bit. Because the fact of the matter is, we understand every state is controlled by the city and the lazy voters. Unfortunately, guys at work, their asses off, do overtime every day, and the wives to put food on the table, and have nice cars, and we've been turned into slaves to a certain extent. And it's us, the hardworking American people, that put in all these extra hours so we can provide all these nice things for our families. Therefore, a lot of times, we don't show up and vote. But the state of Virginia is a great example of what happens when you don't show up and vote. 95% of counties in that state have said to the governor, Northam, fuck you. We will not follow by your unjust, tyrannical laws that you have passed, because the state's controlled by a large city. But the rest of that state, 95% of that state, good luck, Northam. Go in there, try to take those weapons, with all the constitutional sheriffs and all the counties now starting to fund their own militia. It's starting to happen. The tide's starting to turn a little bit. Don't listen to the media. Be smart. Think outside the box. Because Northam is a fucking ant. And there's an elephant about to step on top of him. Let those guys try to go in and try to start arresting people. And see what happens. The same thing in these other states that have all these constitutional sheriffs out there. That's another reason why it's important to get involved in CERT. We were talking about this weekend. We had a work detail meeting at one of our local zones here. And CERT, another good thing to have is CERT. And I recommend that because the Constitution, a lot of times these people think they're like-minded. The reason why they get involved in this is because they want to help out their communities. But you get a badge, you get a nice little all kinds of information that's good, so you're able to communicate. Should shit hit the fan, you'll be able to know, you'll have ears on before most other people. Because listen, they can cut down on comms. And we don't know, actually, the Baofeng, hey man, it's a great thing. Talking about this weekend. Made in China. Do we know that China hasn't implanted some little chip in our Baofeng radios that when shit hits the fan, they don't just fucking hit a switch and it goes off? We don't know that. It could very well happen. Do we trust the Chinese? What are we, fucking liberals now? So you got to think outside the box. And people, you got to fucking continue doing what you do. And move forward and build our ranks. Right now this is a recruiting bonanza for us. So always recruit. Always try and work with law enforcement as long as they're constitutional minded. Support law enforcement and let them know we do support them. Reach out to your constitutional sheriffs. Tell them we support them. You support us, we support you. We're Americans. And that's about it. I got a job interview today. I got to get my ass in the shower. God bless you guys. Be well. And Patriot on. We ain't done yet.